All right, our next Figma exercise, I think this is Figma 10, is going to be about horizontal scrolling. Let me just show you an example first of all. All right, I'm going to go to Figma and I'm going to load up one that's already done. I'm going to hit the play button here. And here's what we're shooting for. Now this one is actually a little fancier than what you're required to do. You don't have to have any text on it. I've got some text on it up here. I put some stars on it to decorate. Down here it says swipe left and right. That's all like icing on the cake. You don't have to do that, but here's the thing right here. We're going to work on setting up this horizontal scrolling behavior right here. I've got a little series of pictures that I can drag them, and right now if it was really on a phone I could do it with my finger, but I'm doing it with a mouse right now, and I'm just kind of dragging them left and right, and you see what they're doing, right? It's kind of like this scrolling content that I can scroll to the left or scroll to the right. All right, so let's close that and let's hop back out here to where we would start. And on the handout that's posted for this assignment, man, I broke it down into chunks, right? I broke it down into little bits here, like all the things that you're going to do. And I may even, as I do this movie, I may even hop back and forth between the handout and Figma and just kind of do the little sections of it. And you could even, if you're doing this at home and you're watching the video to help you do it, you could do one part or look at one part of the video and then pause the video and then go do it. And then, look at the next part, like creating the image strip, and then go do that, pause the video and go do that part, and then come back and watch another section of the video and pause the video and go do that part. You could attack it that way if you wanted to. But anyway, let's go to work here. This is going to be a new design file. All right, I'm going to name it up here. This is horizontal, and I'm going to abbreviate this. And I'm going to put horizontal scroll movie since I'm recording my movie right now. All right, and so here's the first thing we'll do. All right, and this is, again, I'm going to show you, I'm going to create the Mainframe. Okay, well, so I'm just going to take the frame tool, and I want you to use, on this assignment, I want you to use a phone size. I don't care what size, any phone size is fine. I think I'll just do an iPhone 8. All right, and then with that Mainframe, two things. Let's pull this over here. Over on the layer panel, where it says iPhone 8-1, I'm going to double click there and I'm going to name it. This is the Mainframe, so I'm just going to call it Main, or you could call it Home or something like that, right? But I'm going to call it Main. And then over here, I'm going to format it, do whatever you want with this, but I'm going to format it a little bit. I'm going to give it kind of a blue color. I might add a stroke on it, make it like 8. I'll keep my stroke black, I think. Okay, and I'll just close that stroke panel. So that's how I'm going to format mine, and you could do, whatever. Okay, there we go. All right, so the Mainframe is made. So what's the next job that we're going to do? We're going to create like this, I'm calling it an image strip. It's going to be like a little series of images, and you'll have to have at least 5. I provided images on Google Classroom. They're just pictures of beaches, and you could use those if you want, but you don't have to use those if you don't want to, but you need at least 5 images. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go get the rectangle tool, and I'm going to draw a rectangle about like that. That looks good enough to me. And you can use a different shape. It wouldn't have to be a rectangle if you don't want it to be. But I'm going to make a rectangle using the rectangle tool. I'm going to hold the Alt key and drag this so that I have 5 of them. Okay, so there's 5 of them. Now they're not nicely lined up right now, so I'm going to select all of those, use my alignment tools, and go to distribute horizontal spacing, because I do want them to be nice and horizontally spaced and lined up and everything. So I've got that done, right? Okay, so let's go look back here. I've got them all aligned and distributed. Now I have to fill each shape with an image. Okay, well, I'm going to show you a little trick here. I'll go to, the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to go to the shape tool and I'm going to go to place image. And these beach images are available on Classroom. If you want to use these, they are available for you to download and use. All right. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on beach number 1. I'm going to hold the Shift key and click on beach number 5. and you see that it selects all 5 of those like that. A little trick coming up here, watch this. So I clicked on beach 1, shift click on beach 5, and I'll open that. Now what happened is that we've talked about a loaded cursor before, but now I have 5 images loaded in the cursor, and I can just come along here and do this. Click, 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 click. Nice. All right, so there we go. This is my image strip, right? It's like a little, film strip, whatever. It's a lineup of images, and that's what I'm going to use for this. Now, the only other thing that I'm thinking about with the image strip is that I could format these with like stroke or drop shadow or anything like that, and that's up to you. This is an if desired kind of thing. I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to add a stroke, and I'm just going to use like a 5-point black stroke that's on the outside of the image. Okay, there we go. I put a stroke on them. Cool. Good. Now again, if you're thinking, okay, I need guidance on what to do next, well, go look at the handout. The next step here is called wrapping the images in a frame. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do that, and it's all right here. Okay, so I'm going to select all of the images, select them all 5 of them, or you could have more images if you want to. You could make your strip longer if you wanted to. It could be 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 images if you want, whatever. Right, so I'm going to select all of the images, and I'm going to right click on any of them, and once they're all selected, it doesn't matter where you right click, and I'm going to do frame selection. Now what this is going to do is it's going to wrap those 5 images in a frame, and this has to be done. This whole thing that we're about to work with, this whole horizontal scrolling behavior, will not work if you don't do this step, right? So right click, frame selection, boom. Okay, now over here on the layer panel, it says frame 1. It just gives, it automatically gives a frame a name, and I don't want it to be called that. So I'm going to double click, and I'm going to call it images. There we go. Okay, now here's the next thing that I'm going to do, and really I guess this is kind of optional here. I've got my images frame selected on the layer panel over here on the left-hand side. I'm going to go over to the right-hand side and click here where it says Auto Layout. There's a little plus button here, so I'm going to Auto Layout. Click there. And then right here on the right, I'd like to add some padding to my frame. So I'm gonna, right? I'm going to click here, and I'm going to add I'm going to put like 20 pixels of padding on the top, bottom, right, and left. I don't know if you really remember this a whole lot, but we talked about padding when we were doing CSS coding, right? So I'm going to put like 20 pixels of padding all the way around it, and it just gives kind of a little buffer around the frame before you see the images. I like it. You don't have to do it, but it's a thing I like. Auto Layout. This button right here is for padding, and I use 20. You wouldn't have to use 20. You could use 5 or 10 or whatever you want, but it's what I'm going to do. Okay. All right. So, well, what are we doing next? Let's go back over to our handout, and I've done all of this. I selected the images. I wrapped them in a frame. I renamed it, and then I added. This is adding some padding for the images. All right. Let's scroll this on down. Arrange the frames on the layer panel. All right, well, so watch this. Over here on the layer panel, you see how they are arranged on the layer panel. The main frame is sitting here at the bottom, and the images frame is above it. Okay, well, what I want is I'm going to want to take this frame right here, this images frame, and kind of drag it down, and I want to tuck it in. When I drag it down there, I don't want it to just be below the main frame. I want to like pull over here to the right a little bit and kind of tuck it in. You can, if you look closely, you can see that little black line kind of move over. So I want to pull it down below the main image or the main frame and tuck it in. So I want it actually to be a part of the main frame. Now let me change something on mine because that just disappeared. So I fixed it. Okay. All right. Now it doesn't look like a whole lot happened, but it's going to make a difference, okay? So now I'm going to take this frame and kind of scoot it over. I'm going to have them kind of overlap. I don't know, put it wherever you want, but about like that looks pretty good to me, okay? So the images frame is kind of a part of the mainframe, but now here's what I'm going to do, and this is important as well. This whole scrolling thing isn't going to work if you don't do this part, and it's on the handout right here. Right? All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab the right edge of the images frame and scoot it in like that. Right? Again, that's important that you do that. All right. So I grabbed the right edge of the frame and pulled it in here, and I could match it up with the edge of the mainframe if I wanted to, but I'm going to pull it in here kind of like that and put it right there. Okay. Looks good to me. All right. What are we doing next? I just did those two things. I tucked the images frame inside so it's part of the mainframe. And then I pulled the right edge of the images frame, and pulled it over and kind of put it where I wanted it. All right, so this next thing is clip content. All right, well, let's see how you do that. It's all right here, but here's what you do. I'm going to pick, I'll begin by clicking on the images. I'm going to do it to both, but I'll click on the images frame over here. And over on the properties panel over on the right-hand side, there's a thing that says clip content, and I'm just going to check mark it. Now, what it does is kind of hide anything that's outside the frame. All right? You see that frame there, but you don't see the stuff that's sticking outside of the frame, and that's good. That's what I want. I'm also going to do the same thing on the main frame up here. I'm going to click the main frame, and I'm going to click on clip content. Got to do both. All right? You're going to want to do both. All right, yay. What are we doing next? That wasn't too hard. It was clip content on both the main frame and the images frame. Well, this is really just about over now. Watch. Set the horizontal scrolling behavior. Okay. Well, so here's what you do. On the layer panel, click the images frame. Now, all behaviors, things like connections and behaviors, are done on the prototype part of the program. So I'm going to leave the design part. This is for building, putting things together and aligning them and getting them to look the way they want and all that kind of stuff. But when you're talking about behaviors and connections and things like that, that's all prototype. So I'm going to go to the prototype part. And right here it says overflow scrolling. I'm going to, for right now, I'm going to just move this over. All right, so I'll click the images frame again. Okay, overflow scrolling, and it says no scrolling. Well, I want horizontal scrolling. Right? Now you're seeing here that, hey, is it possible to set up vertical scrolling instead of horizontal? Yes. Is it possible to set up both? Well, yes. But today, let's keep it simple, right? Let's not overcomplicate here. I'm just going to do horizontal scrolling. Boom. Well, so let's check it. Let's find out if this works. So I'm going to go up here to the play button, the present button, the preview button, whatever you want to call it. And I get this. Sometimes it takes a second for the pictures to populate in there, but there we go. And if I drag this picture, oh, look. I can click on the pictures and just drag them sideways, and look, that's horizontal scrolling behavior. Cool. And folks, this could be turned in right now. This is it. This is the assignment. Now I'm going to go ahead and close the preview menu and just, let's see. Let me go, but that's not what I want. Here, I'm going to do something really quick. Won't take me long here. Back to files. And I'm going to pull up the one that I showed you earlier. Now, on this one, I did some extra things. I added some text that I put up here at the top of the mainframe. Well, okay, you can do that if you want to. 5-star beaches. And I added some stars down here at the bottom of the mainframe. Well, all right, you could do that if you want to. You don't have to if you don't want to. All it is just, using the shape tools and using the type tool and just putting some things on the mainframe and arranging it where you want, and it makes it look prettier. But you don't have to make it look prettier today. That is not necessary. You don't have to, right? If you have This is what I'm going to be looking for right here. Can I scroll this content sideways? I'm just clicking it and dragging it with the mouse, right? If I was actually using a real phone, I could do it with my finger. I could swipe left or swipe right, and okay, look, it's working. All right, and then so like I said, yeah, if you want to add some other little details here, then go ahead. You know, add some text, add some decorations if you want to. Great, fine, thank you, great, but you don't have to. All right, end of movie. It's your turn. Off you go.